You ever catch yourself saying, I don't know where to start? Usually we say that when we've already watched half a dozen videos, downloaded 3 different apps, and bought a leather-bound planner we haven't even opened yet. I've been there. But here's the truth we don't like to admit. Most of us aren't actually lost, we're just stalling. We tell ourselves these little harmless-sounding lies about readiness or needing one more piece of information. Eventually, we aren't just telling those lies, we're living them. By the time we're done here, you're going to see those stalls for what they are. More importantly, you'll see how to actually move, even when the feeling isn't there.
We live in a time where you can literally Google your way into a six-pack. There are step-by-step guides for everything from meal prep to starting a business or getting over a heartbreak. And yet, we still sit there and say, I just don't know how to get started. Come on. We don't need another course. In my experience, we probably just need to admit we're scared. Maybe we're scared of failing, or maybe we're scared of succeeding and then not knowing what the hell comes next. So we click, we watch, we research. But research without action, that's just entertainment. It's mental masturbation. The internet has made us addicts of preparation. We prep to prep, we plan to plan, we even research how to research better. I've been guilty of this with my own writing. I once spent 3 hours researching the perfect font for a website header instead of just writing the damn article. That wasn't design work, it was avoidance. Meanwhile, the thing I actually wanted to do was just sitting there, getting dusty.
Knowledge isn't power. Only applied knowledge is power. You can read every fitness blog on the planet, but your body won't change until you actually lift something heavy. You can watch every entrepreneurship video on this site, but your bank account won't grow until you actually build something and sell it to someone. Now, let's talk about the days when you just don't feel up to it. Some mornings, I wake up feeling like I could take over the world. Other days, I'm pretty sure I'd lose a fist fight with a laundry basket. But if I only worked on the days I felt amazing, nothing would ever get done. Discipline isn't about being a robot, it's just about not giving your emotions the final say. You're allowed to feel tired, you're allowed to feel uninspired. You can be anxious and still show up to the meeting.
Your brain is actually wired to keep you safe, not to make you successful. Think of it like an overprotective parent. It means well, but it keeps you from growing up. It'll tell you to stay in bed or avoid a hard conversation because it's trying to protect you from potential pain. But growth lives on the other side of that discomfort. And remember, these feelings are just temporary visitors. They aren't permanent residents. That wave of self-doubt, it'll pass. That burning motivation that makes you want to reorganize your entire life at 2 a.m., that'll pass too. The most successful guys I know have developed emotional immunity. They acknowledge the feeling, thank it for the input, and then they do the work anyway. They act in spite of how they feel. One excuse isn't a big deal, but 10 excuses over a year? Now it's part of your identity. You tell yourself, I'll get back to it soon. And 6 months later, you're saying, I've just never been good at sticking with things. You weren't born that way. You became that way. Every time you say, I can't, or I'm not good at, you're editing your life story in real time. You're programming yourself for failure. And the scariest part, we start believing our own press releases. We market ourselves as incapable, and eventually, we buy it. I had a friend who spent years saying, I'm just not a morning person. One day I asked him, when's the last time you actually tried to be one? Silence. He was living off a story he created when he was 19 and had a job he hated. We become prisoners of our own narratives. I'm bad with money. I'm not creative. I don't have willpower. These aren't facts. They're just stories. And stories can be rewritten. But you have to stop being the author of your own limitations.
Motivation is a flaky friend. It shows up late, leaves early, and only calls when it's convenient.
You don't need it. Think of motivation like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it rains. You can't control it, but you can carry an umbrella. Your umbrella is your routine. It's your discipline. It's showing up whether you feel like it or not. What you need is a tiny bit of movement to break the inertia. Get dressed for the run, even if you don't run yet. Open the document, even if you don't type a word. Sometimes momentum kicks in after the first step, but it never shows up before it. I've written some of my best work on days when I felt like absolute garbage. I've had breakthrough workouts when I was exhausted. None of that happened because I felt motivated. It happened because I showed up anyway. We also need to be honest about the people around us. Some people in your life are making it harder for you to grow, not because they're bad people, but because they've gotten comfortable with your excuses, and you've gotten comfortable with theirs. I've had to distance myself from friends who always gave me a pass. They'd say, "Don't stress, man, you've got a lot going on." It felt good in the moment. It was a relief, but long term, it let me stay stuck. We all need people who call us forward, not with judgment, just with truth. Sometimes that's just a friend who gives you a look that says, "You know better." Your social circle is either lifting you up or pulling you down. There is no neutral. Pay attention to who celebrates your victories and who seems uncomfortable when you start making progress. Misery doesn't just love company, it recruits it. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is create some distance from people who are committed to staying stuck. How many fresh starts have you scheduled for next Monday? Tomorrow is slippery, it keeps moving, and every time we push something to a later date, we're just practicing the habit of delay. Procrastination becomes the default setting, and that's not something you can just flip off. Tomorrow is the biggest lie we tell ourselves. It's this mythical place where we'll have more time, more energy, and we'll magically be better versions of ourselves. But tomorrow never comes. It's always today when you wake up. Start ugly. Start small. Start with whatever's in front of you. The perfect time is a myth. Life happens in the messy middle, not in the perfect conditions we imagine. I learned this the hard way when I kept waiting for the right time to start my business. First, I needed more savings, then I needed more experience, then more connections. Years passed, and I was still sitting in the same cubicle dreaming of someday. There is no secret sauce. We've been sold this idea that you can hack your way to success, that there's some optimized routine or app that lets you skip the struggle. But the people who get what they want, they grind. They show up when no one is clapping. They keep going after the fun part stops. That's where self-respect comes from. It doesn't come from the result, the six-pack, or the business. It comes from knowing you didn't flinch when it got hard. You can't fake that. The internet is full of people selling shortcuts. Lose 30 pounds in 30 days, make 6 figures in 6 months. But the transformation isn't in the result. It's in the process. It's in becoming the kind of person who can stick with something when it gets boring or thankless. Your life isn't shaped by one giant decision. It's shaped by 1,000 tiny ones you make when you're tired or frustrated or tempted to say, "Screw it." What kind of person do you want to be when nobody's watching? Start there. Strip the lies away. Get quiet with yourself. Pick one thing you've been putting off, just one, and do it today. Not perfectly, just start ugly. No more waiting, no more excuses. You already know what to do. The path forward isn't complicated, it's just hard. But hard doesn't mean impossible. It just means you'll have to become someone different along the way. And maybe that's the point. If this helped, subscribe, and we'll keep having these talks. And do me a favor, drop a comment and tell me what lie you're done believing. Sometimes saying it out loud is the first step to breaking free.